this channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. A few months ago now, this arrived on the market to quite a lot of hype. I think it's sort of similar to the level of hype that the Strymon Iridium first met. I was quite surprised when, in a few comparisons, people were saying that this thing kind of, blew the Iridium away, particularly when the Iridium is not even old. But yeah, it took me a while to see any of these come up used, but I have one now. And so I wanted to sort of do a review, give it a try, see what it sounds like. And this is what it looks like. Looks like it was already returned once. Torn packaging return. Anyway, so this was clearly bought from Anderton's at some stage. You open it like that, I guess. Sweet yet clear, the long exhale of spring soaked in vibrato, a slow breakup from the perfect dream. Okay, so some cool packaging at least, and a pedal that looks like that. The only one thing sort of negative that I can think of with these is that they don't have a headphone or USB capability type stuff. But aside from that, as in, you know, it's not an interface, so you do still need an interface with it. But that's what it looks like. It looks really cool. Nice size. Just plug it in. This is actually, I think, the first time I've owned, you know, for the time that I will own this, if I choose to keep it or not, I'm not sure at the moment, having never plugged it in, any Universal Audio product. And they're obviously relatively expensive, but I think people generally find them to be high quality. These switches are interesting actually, so they can go up or down. They sort of reset to the middle. So we've got it set on the EV12. We'll set our treble halfway. What's this? Boost, treble, bass, output, and reverb. So, out of the box, that's pretty good fun. Right, that's it in stock mode. So let's just keep it in stock mode for now. And I'm going to take the output down slightly. And is that the boost on? So I can turn the boost off. So I was thinking that would break up quite early for what is a 65 reverb. So that's with the EV12 speaker, right? We can change it to the Oxford. Bit of a warmer sound. So, pretty cool sounding. What happens with this treble? You get a bit of a darker sound with that turned down a bit. Now, what I remember of the Fender specifically, or the round in the Strymon Iridium, was it is a little bit darker. This seems to have quite a lot of brightness if you needed it. And although you've only got these two kind of tonal controls, it seems you can get quite a lot out of it. Now, Alt, if we hold this up, I guess we're going to get the intensity and speed of the trem. So we can switch on or off this tremolo, which is, you know, a neat feature. Go back to the amp. Can it do drippy stuff? Yes. Now, this also solves one of the things that I thought that the Iridium should frankly have maybe considered. Instead of there being just a room setting on it, I like the idea that you'd have, especially with some of these types of amps, a spring reverb instead, given that the Iridium can load a fairly long room reverb. You'd imagine that in theory it might be able to also load a decent spring emulation. I like that we just come straight out of the gate with the reverb on here instead, especially with something like a deluxe reverb, which I think a huge part of the sound of a clean Fender is that reverb. Now, what happens as we turn up the gain? Let's find out together. I'm playing a Stratocaster for this. You hear we got a bit of breakup there creeping in, right? I'm going to turn the bass down to stop it flubbing out so much. And as we really crank it, to me it does. One of the problems with some devices is that in some ways, as you turn up the gain, things can get super spiky. That's not happening here. So that's kind of cool as well. Boost this as well. To me, it does seem like it's doing something, you know, like you'd expect maybe an amp that was really cranked and really pushing it. And I kind of like not having tons and tons of options. That Oxford speaker, I think, works pretty nicely. So the only real negative that I can see from this, as I say, is probably the lack of a headphone, and maybe, you know, the fact that you have to use an interface with this, as well as, I guess, what is quite a hefty price tag. And we know that Jesse J said it's not about the price tag, but for some of us it is about the price tag, isn't it? I'm really impressed with the tones of that, I think. Maybe I'm easily impressed, but I wasn't expecting to necessarily like it. I have to say, I'm really impressed with this little box. So, you know, I wasn't expecting necessarily to be able to get such a big range of tones. So, for instance, you know, let's just start with everything sort of. We've got this boost over on this side, I'll just leave that off. This is in the D-Tex mode, which... If we go into stock mode, bit cleaner, go into lead mode. So there's like a big range of clean tones just. And then if you want, for example, on this mode here, if we just turn the gain and boost up, you've got actually an incredible amount of gain. So it's not just the clean machine, which is not necessarily what I was expecting. And if you go on to these red cabs, these seem a bit tighter. And then the green ones seem to be a little bit more vintagey voiced. I'll look into the manual and find what that actually is about, but I'm actually quite impressed by that. There's also an app, isn't there, right? So I might have a little mess around with that, but Now, crucially, we don't have Midi with the Dream, and that might be a no deal sort of situation for some folks. But here we have this little thing, the app. I can press pair on here, and that takes us in now. So we've got factory, presets, artist presets, Osnoy, Jessica Dobson, Corey Wong, Derek Wells, Tim Pierce, David Ryan Harris, Jim James, Danish Pete, Nels Klein, Justus West, Lincoln Brewster, interesting, and favourites, user, we got settings. You can turn the foot switch to different modes, so it can either be left switch toggles boost on or off, right switch toggles vibrato on or off, okay, or other options, live and preset, boost, live preset, vibrato, live preset, boost, vibrato, reverb, vibrato. So that's really cool. So you could set that up to be switching on or off your reverb, all that sort of stuff. That's really useful stuff. Full cable method on or off, presets backup, general, reset pedal. I guess we should do that. Reset. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't have MIDI. It does have this app, which might be a good thing for some folks. I don't know if we've got any EQ settings on there either, but for the money, you'd expect, I guess, A, really good tones, which I think it does, and B, to be able to use it without reading the manual maybe, I don't know. But for me, you know, I've not picked up the manual yet, and I'm playing guitar and having fun with it, which I guess is what you'd hope would be the situation with a pedal like this, right? That you would spend money on it and hopefully it would be really decent tones and inspire something. Is this better than the Iridium? I'm not sure about that, and it's not necessarily quite as versatile. Also, the individual kind of models, you know, like this has more possibilities for sounds in it than the Iridium Fender, as far as I can remember it at least. It's nice to have that boost separate as well. So yeah, it's also really nice to have that reverb on the unit, spring reverb instead of just a generic room. I really like that, and I think it actually enhances kind of the feeling of playing it and making it feel more like what a Fender Deluxe Reverb might feel like to play, you know, that splashy reverb which is available, and the vibrato. So yeah, I really like that pedal more than I was expecting to. So I hope that was okay for me to share with you. That's my honest opinion on the Dream 65. It's expensive, but there's some real quality there and it's easy to use. Anything you didn't like about the Dream 65? Have you tried one? Do you like it? Have you kept one? Have you sold one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Cheers for now.